I'm about to share with you my thoughts and insights of the possible dynamics of this realm from a unique lens. I will read my writing first and then share the rough sketch of my latest thoughts and my processing as I'm going through it in a moment of pure, raw inspiration, no reading or preparation, just coming straight from how I'm feeling and sensing into this working out and what my thoughts are. So there will be periods of time during the recording where I have pauses and I'm thinking and understanding better how to draw or illustrate something. So this is a work in progress, and I'm sharing just the baby steps with you here, and I will be developing more on these thoughts on my channel, The Subtle Realms, and feel free to visit there anytime and look at any of the videos to get more insights into what I'm speaking about.
Fellow mystics and sages, my name is Heather from The Subtle Realms, and welcome to End of Agnoia.
I've been in a period of my life recently which requires more resting time to allow my body to heal from a severe, painful injury. It's been traumatic, and as in other times of my life, when trauma strikes, what comes out the other side in terms of deeper contemplation and understanding of one's strength and capacity, it is a blessing in disguise. Since my particular spark is fascinated by the mechanics of this realm, almost as a reverse engineer, I tend to contemplate to discover what exactly is meant by these repeating patterns we see in this realm as it flows in its ways. What are its components, the layers within the whole? How did I get here? How am I connected still to the part of myself that's not in physical form? Ever since I was a small child, I was looking up into the vastness of the sky and silently praying to be rescued and taken away, and that I'm not supposed to be here. I knew a part of me was connected to something outside of this realm even then, and that feeling has never gone away. It's beautiful that the connection for many of us remains throughout our experience here, as challenging as it is being divine light interwoven within a physical system to assist in animating and fulfilling each design's particular prophecy. I imagine it as a golden thread, a filament of light that I've kept as safe as I can from weakening amidst the distortions of everyday life. We keep that golden thread sacred and separate from the overlays. Identify with that aspect of you over any other construct. We can stay attuned while we're here and wink to others as a feeling of bewildered yet soul-felt support. Our divine light could have been pulled into or magnetized somehow into a vortex down through the layers. We fell or were guided down through layers of ethereal planes, with the light that goes from fast to slow as it descends being pulled in, slowing down, becoming more and more dense and concentrated, introducing us to the first matrix of Mother, with a flash of light at conception, embarking upon a life journey depending on the destiny of that individual, how we land here, which frequencies we fell through at the time, what song was playing in the realm when we entered, and sensing quite immediately whether or not our essential tune feels harmonic or discordant here. Robert Temple's book, The New Science of Heaven, eloquently describes how the universe is made up of 99.9% sentient plasma, which is charged ions in the ether that is not in form and is sentient and is making up the vast majority of reality. I feel that by applying mechanics of torus field dynamics, this plasma theory, magnetism, and electricity, we can begin to have a greater understanding of a fundamental formula to apply on as many aspects of our life as we can imagine, a resource tool for the metaphysical journey. We can apply how thoughts, intentions, the mind can create a vibration and start a chain reaction of evolution of a system gaining or losing charge. The movement of cycles of our life, of the seasons of our thoughts, of reality, can all be viewed through the lens of this greater flow. How the macro informs the micro and the other way around. I feel this is a cipher, a key to a greater gnosis of design. To consider these principles of contraction, expansion, coherence, rhythm, polarity, duality, finding the singular central point within it all, to create a still point to collapse, even if just briefly, the holds of the flow. And then learn how to harness this as an element, as a resource, to guide us while we're here, as in the Gnostic text from the Gospel of Thomas, the quote saying 22, "When you make the two into one, when you make the inner like the outer, and the outer like the inner, then you will enter the kingdom." Something about becoming familiar with these mechanics will open a doorway within. I feel this to be true. Whether we can view it as studying an exit room or learning how to apply the codex to all arenas of your experience to flow easier through. I found myself drawn in here for some reason, along with all of you, slowed down so drastically we experience time and material world. We begin to sense into the aspects that make up where we are. Some of us remember our travels through the layers. Some of us explore these layers while we're alive and sleep. And some of us remember being pulled into it before physical birth. We find that the gnosis that comes through each of us to share with each other is a sacred gift, something we can hold onto for guidance, a knowing coming from the purest place, made it into our hearts and mind through our connection to who we really are. And we also become familiar with the way the construct of hierarchical society has been overlaid in many ways, an insidiously destructive characteristic initially begotten from the creator of this specific realm, perhaps with the desire to create on its own, through ignorance, the desire to survive no matter what, the need of taking life force and taking inspiration from the outside of themselves to replenish the life inside, not knowing how to do that on their own. How this plays out in cycles of creation over and over, the way the system balances itself, feeding upon itself to create life coming from chaos. I feel that the people in control in society that have an understanding of the mechanics of this place, all of the occulted information of how we could perhaps sync up with the flow of the momentum of the elements within this realm that Spirit has brought to help turn on our innate technology in this physical interface to shine more brightly as our spirits, how to maneuver within this incarnation to allow more of us to shine. It's just now coming in a wave through our gnosis and collective awareness that we are capable of so much more harmony and power and intentional creative force while we are here. Instead, it's been hidden and used against us in too many ways. I think they want this place to be overtaken by entropy and chaos. But I also think about syntropy, which is the opposite of entropy, where a system learns greater efficiency and fitness and elegance and harmony, and grows together without taking, where more is more for all, not more for you is less for me, and vice versa. It feels as if the narcissistic, psychopathic overlay that takes over most people through greed has a stronghold upon the construct, perhaps because it was begotten from that intention in the first place. So many of us, for who knows how long, have been under a spell of hypnosis, of doubt, living in a program that keeps us thinking we are so much less than we really are. A program that inverts the beauty and power of our innate sensory and extrasensory components, twisting it to make it seem as if it's evil and dangerous. Perhaps we unknowingly are presented to the narcissistic abuser to demonstrate the beauty of the light in hopes that they will see and change their ways, because how could anyone treat such innocence with cruelty? It's time to use that energy to empower your own self instead of leaking it into futile and naive ideas as such. I was once very much invested in hoping things could change, and now I need to look after myself. I'm learning how to protect my ember, even though I see the intentions of these systems, to learn by reference how not to be, how to fortify charge from my own self instead of outsourcing it and taking from others, how to live in silent reverence to what I feel in my soul, regardless of the confusion of reality, how to lean into higher octaves of our humanness, which I pray align me with higher octaves of experience in the long run, so there is no way that I would be magnetically pulled back into here or sympathetically resonated with any frequency that is making up this specific realm. Deep within, I've noticed that this is a designed construct for realizing what's truly important. To stay within our essence and feel no desire to re-enter these wheels within wheels, spheres within spheres, layers of planes to the material space, which is too painful for me to bear. There could be a lower octave of density than this. There could be a higher octave, realms above. How many universes may be, each with its own frequency and design begotten from its creator. Maybe we realize here about these patterns and cycles and how integrity and energy works, and have a model which is evident in all the systems, like a machine. And when you reverse engineer the machine, you can know better how to navigate through or around it. There is potential of harnessing more energy for oneself while you're here, and learning how to keep it within your own center rather than being manipulated to give it away. They took out one of the elements on purpose, ether, which is that charged sentient plasma that pulls with its magnetism. It is a medium in itself. There is a capacity of bringing in extra charge into your individuated field through that medium. As a surfer would study the ocean and the waves to see how one could go into that element and work with it after confidently witnessing how the mechanics of the flow goes. So by learning about toroidal or torsion field dynamics and the way that dynamism, cycles, creation, patterns, charge happen, like that quote from the Gospel of Thomas, you can apply that to your mind, to your life, to this realm, because everything operates within this realm just like that flow.
Two principles, and they make the third: the mother, the father, the child, the mind, the thoughts, the creation, the ether, the plasma, the spirit, magnetism, electricity, electromagnetism, the dynamic of ether, magnetic, medium. It's what the plasma, electricity, travels through. And as it travels through, depending on the vibration of its frequency or how long it's sustaining a certain type of charge for, will determine the type of perturbation which is within the ether. And Nikola Tesla says that light is a result of the perturbation of the ether, which is the disturbance or the oscillation within this medium. So the plasma, the electricity, the vehicle, also being guided through by the ether as well. It's not just static and not doing anything. It's got this receptivity to it. It's got this magnetism to it. It's infinite potential of the plasma, the electricity, which is the vehicle, as it collects charge and it, in its masculine aspect, is activating and it wants to grow into individual units and produce. So all of these little elements of plasma, of charge, of potential entities or beings to come into existence start with just a small disturbance in the ether that makes light. And then that light becomes the dynamism of electromagnetism. The light is also sound. The sound has a frequency. So as it sustains charge, as more of this dynamism and this combination become more activated, as it gains charge and holds and sustains its properties, the electricity is sustaining long enough to begin to spin upon itself. This dance, this twirling. You can imagine the whirling dervishes. Nicole Murphy makes that connection with the Taurus field's turn as well. I think it's really beautiful. Also the spinning, the turning around, the stone, etc. This spiraling, the longer it's sustained, will turn into a Taurus field, which is a self-sustaining, self-accumulating, building more and more charge upon itself system that's in perpetual motion. Generative, orderly, destructive, over and over and over again in perpetuity. As it pulls in more charge, the spinning of this potential in the medium, the mother, the father creating the spirit, the triangle in the center is the monad, the singularity, where the expression comes through, where the perception comes through, the I in the middle of the triangle, the alpha and the omega. This creation from this dynamism is spirit. The potential for spirit and the connectivity of all spirit exists in the grand tapestry of the etheric medium, which you could call the Indra's net. So any element within everything, as it gains more charge and develops itself into a system where it can begin to create from its center point, can pick up on any information or data across the whole field of existence, because the components make this, and the components are attached, and so there's this quantum entanglement with all of reality, but there's individuation within. So as you gain your charge in your fields, the stronger your dielectric core, which is where the creation comes out of, unfolds from, the more of an individual life or system you are. And there's more about that later. So it spins and then it boom turns into a Taurus field. It just happens. That's how it is in physics. You can see a demonstration of it online. There's a video of electricity sustained for a long enough time that it turns into a Taurus. So this is spinning, turning. It's right turning, left turning on the bottom, right, left. It's spinning, it's pulling in this vortex, pulling in more charge, either just charge, base charge, or developed plasmoids, which have begun to build upon themselves and are individuals. So get sucked into this system. And so this is what people call one of the matrix constructs. And then within reality that we're experiencing here are many other matrix constructs. And I think they're in forms of 12. The 12 endocrine system, the 12 zodiac, the 12 timing, the 12 math, 12 disciples, all of these 12 archetypes, characteristics This is like your ingredients that you can cook with, you can identify with.
We're learning that energy can create a thought form, and that thought form can gain charge and spin, and an idea can go from just an idea to beginning to create its own self-sustaining system. And it makes me think about how many worlds we've inadvertently created. I think that this right here, this central point is the singularity point, the 0 point, the black hole, the event horizon here. There's nothing and everything on the precipice of the same. This connects everything together. It's like the central nodal point where you can go, imagine that you go, feel into this space throughout your daily meditations, contemplations, and just experiment. When you withdraw, so this is what I was thinking about the numbers: 5, 7, 12. Okay, now all numbers have a relevance. Mathematics denotes a sequence and patterning, etc. So this is where Harold's map comes back in and Vrill's map comes back in. Those maps are here, and you can mirror them upside down here.
When I first saw this map, I immediately knew that I needed to find a way to incorporate it into my thoughts regarding torus fields and electromagnetism. I imagined them overlaid upon each other in multiple directions with the 7 layers down, either into the central vortex or at the nodal points.
So you go down 7 gates, 7 chakras. Every larger macro can be applied to the micro in scales. So there's always this 12-7-5 scale. It's the same architectural formula, physical and metaphysical. So it's material, and it's also the metaphysical, the spiritual aspects too. Those principles are applied with this. The dynamics, the mechanics of the torsion field. Down 7, down into the 7 depths of the skin, into the 7 chakras, into the 7 gates, down into density. It's light, fast light. As it slows down, density, and then the light becomes entangled within the DNA or the coding, and it animates as a light reader, whatever that code wants it to do. And so it begins to unfold. The spirit that's just floating around, there's charge everywhere. The etheric medium doesn't stop, it's everything. And there's potential charge everywhere. It's like the bioluminescence in the ocean. And some of it gets collected into concentrated areas as a seed, and then that light, the charge, because of the water and the sun and the minerals, activates this for life to grow. And if there's spirit, charge, minerals, water, sun, it's creation. When a torus field is created from the spin, it also throws off smaller torus fields within it, above it, and that's in the physics demonstration as well. And so here, in this case of our reality, our world, the luminaries are smaller torus fields. So I'm not going to get into that right now. Just want to demonstrate how light and charge, either concentrated as an individual beings or free potential, getting sucked down in here through the frequency bands, through the 12 zodiacs, down the 7, and the interface of 5. Your 5 senses, 5 digits. This is how you interact with your 5. You're a star, 5-pointed star in here. 12, 7, 5. So a good practice to be, if you want to focus on remembering who you are before you came in here, into your center, that doesn't identify with any of these outer 12 constructs, any of the depths of 12, any of the interface components of 5. Identify with who you are before all of these formulas were applied. And then through sympathetic resonance, by holding that frequency in your mind and in your space and in your feeling, and conditioning your field, because we have the same Taurus field here as the system and the fruit, we have too. And we can bring in more charge for ourselves in a responsible way, or people like energy vampires, narcissists, psychopaths, etc., they will go around and feed off of others' charge in manipulative ways and cause a lot of harm. So there's a responsible way to collect the harmless harvest, your charge, and maintain a coherence. So this is strong. When your field is weak, this is not strong. Your light dims. Your connection to your light dims. The light out here, the spirit here, can lend itself, tether itself down into the individual more or less throughout the life. So sometimes in your life you may feel like you've had awakenings. That's when more of your spiritual self is integrated and incarnated within you. Then there are times when your fields and your different bodies, your emotional, physical, mental bodies are not a conducive housing for the spirit, and it withdraws. Like the Sophionic light withdrew her light from this lower octave of density, imbued with light, and then withdrew her light. And now the light that's been coming in and being collected through this sine wave, this is Santos Bonacci talk here, born into sin, born into the sign, then we have the opportunity during our time here incarnated within matter to either bring more of our spirit self in, or become an unfolding creature that's just living in the lower octaves and feeding off of the lower octaves. And then at the time of death, the field of that physical body, the memories and the minerals and the salts will dissipate and become more components for further creation. It's this generation, order, and decay over and over and over and over again. It's the alpha, the horn, and the omega. So in order to maintain your remembrance of your spirit, more of your spirit could be hovering around the outside, like the stars that we see in the sky, waiting for the light to either withdraw completely from the material realm in here, or to continue integrating more in. So that's how I feel, some of us have connections to different stars. Maybe it's us waiting for ourselves to return completely and perhaps integrate some of the information here. So we have two bodies. We have our ego, our soul vehicle. That's this life, the game player for this life. And our spirit, the spirit doesn't dissipate. The physical body's life dissipates. And the spirit withdraws back to spirit. So there's a way to gain charge responsibly, to hold your remembrance and integrity of your central core, to become a conscious creator. A lot of people are inadvertently, unintentionally, unconsciously creating from their center, and it's coming out of their fields, and the quality and the frequency of who they are is determining the quality and the frequency of the creation. And you could see what you're creating and you cannot see what you're creating. And so it's something to think about, I think, to become more responsible about. How can you gain charge responsibly? Well, there's life force, the sun, the minerals, the salt, the water, all of those things, honoring all of those things, bringing them in like electricity to your field. I have a video on my Heather Mattoon channel about eating a watermelon, and I go into that a little bit more. And for the past 10 years that I've been making videos on my Heather Mattoon channel, I've been hinting very subtly about this, making juices, spending time outside, in the sun, all of these ways to ground your circuitry so that you can maintain a very coherent field, which then allows you to have a stronger connection to your spirit. So that's like a 3: spirit, grounding, and then the medium, the vehicle. That is another triad to attain to. Energy, consciousness, matter. And so we don't have consciousness. We are aware of consciousness. We have a focal point, the eye in the center of the triangle, of the pyramid, and wherever that's focusing on, that is what you are conscious of. But we don't have consciousness, or we're not growing consciousness. We're just growing our awareness and capacity to be able to perceive more.
I think it's important for us to learn about what's going on here so that we can more easily navigate and not have more trauma inadvertently playing out. We can gain empowerment, and we can realize that if we stay periodically and intentionally in that sacred silence, reverent to the connection that you have with your divinity and with the greater generative force of existence, it will become unshakingly clear what your essence is, and we can stay as authentic to that as possible. I want to learn how to gain charge responsibly, and that's been my practice for years now. Learn how to keep my own integrity and tune myself to a more resonant environment for mind, body, and spirit. I feel it must make changes in the nodes of all possibilities. I do find this information to be sacred, and I don't take it for granted that it's surfacing in our minds at this time.